All right, let's talk a little more Star Wars Jedi Survivor, and this time talk spoilers. If you guys missed my previous video, I did a video talking about some of my best aspects of the game, spoiler-free, so if you want to check out like my full in-depth thoughts, go over there. For over here, this isn't going to be a play-by-play of everything, just some stuff I wanted to talk about that are spoilers, so you are warned. There's a couple things I just kind of wanted to highlight, hash out with you guys, because as I said in that other video, I am a really big Star Wars fan. I don't talk about the main Star Wars stuff on videos anymore. I just kind of save that for my friends and stuff like that. But when a video game comes along, I relish the opportunity. And I guess piggybacking off of what I started saying in that previous video is that like one of my favorite things about Star Wars is just a good, unique, interesting crew and Jedis and lightsabers. That's what I really like about Star Wars, a good old adventure. And we got that here because we got the crew, the Mantis crew, somewhat reunited. Now, not completely, of course, but the moments where we got Grease back on the ship just made me happy. I don't think there was enough Grease in this game, or really enough Grease comedy. We just kind of had more serious stuff here and there. There were some good bits, mind you, especially with them making the big jump and getting through that whole tunnel to get to that High Republic planet. Like, that was a really good moment, but just having Cal, Merrin, and Grease together really made me happy, and I just wish there was more. But the game was filled with so many just smaller moments, like talking to Grease or talking to whoever, and really talking to the people in the cantina. I really, really loved getting to know all those people, specifically that Chiss dude. I would always find myself going back to the bar to talk to him and be like, what's your deal, man? He's kind of like weird, he's a little pretentious and douchey, but it just really worked for me. The freaking droid that makes like DJ scratching sounds as part of its beeps and blips, like that was really creative. That stuff. Also, Cage Vanda, just really, really cool Star Wars bounty hunter design. Just again goes back to what I said in the previous video. I think Respawn gets it. When they're handed Star Wars, I think mostly they come up with some really good stuff. And now a lot of you guys were asking like what I was referring to in the previous video where I said at certain aspects it went a little too video gamey and just felt like crazy action and not really Star Wars. I think it was the drill sequence on Jedha. The drill itself, pretty cool, really cool, like Imperial tech, kind of gave me Metal Gear vibes. But really it was like the flying around with the Night Sister magic that I was like, this is like fucking insano mode. It didn't like lose me. It didn't like jump the shark because Star Wars can be over the top. It's fine. But for me, I was just like, okay. I don't really have any like proper criticism to back it up other than that it just didn't land quite right for me in the whole Star Wars thing. But there's a lot to the Night Sister magic. So whatever, it's cool. But a big moment that I did really like is the intro, because the intro kind of caps off the stuff that I kind of miss from Fallen Order, but it was good that it kind of put the cap on it and moved on from it. And that is like the Inquisitor stuff, the whole pursuit of the Jedi stuff, so to speak. You get this experienced Cal going on a rebel mission. You know, the fact that he's working and doing jobs for Saw Gerrera, but like it's just mentioned, it's not like shown in your face or anything, is very cool. And the Coruscant underbelly was great. Visually, I thought it was astounding. I thought it was really awesome to see, and it was just really fun to run through it and slaughter stormtroopers and stuff. But the showdown with the Utapau senator was really, really good. Not only just because it didn't really go down how you expect, but also like how it was a really cool tutorial where it was like, okay, press right trigger for force push, press square to strike an enemy down, and just how it flowed and animated was just very cool. Awesome Jedi moment. But also the fact that you get to see this Cal that's a little more experienced, and he kind of comes to the start of the game with a little bit more of that like Luke piece, that like Return of the Jedi, like I am Luke, I am a Jedi, I am in control of like he had that energy to him when he was dealing with the senator, and it was like, oh cool, look at this Cal. He's been at it for a couple of years. He's kind of reckoned with everything he faced in the first game, and there's certainly more to that we can dive into, but like even just the fact that he cut down one of the Inquisitors in a pretty badass way, in a very peaceful way, where he's like, it's time to set you free, and bam, cuts her head off. Holy shit. That was really good. That was really, really cool. It was also like a hint and inkling of like, he is not just like by the book regular old Jedi anymore, especially after the events of the first game. But also the fact that it's implied that BD1 kind of asked him like, hey, you good? Because he said, I'm okay, BD, thanks. Good stuff. But jumping back to side characters and stuff, let's talk Boba Fett. Boba Fett, for me and a couple of people I know, was spoiled thanks to YouTube thumbnails. Because, believe it or not, I finished the game for review, but I had a couple of bounties I still had to take out. So I didn't finish the bounties like immediately. And then day one when the game came out, people were spoiling that Boba Fett was in it. And it is a very small side moment, but it is a really well done one. After actually getting all of them and getting that scene, it was really rewarding because it's like a good old fashioned portrayal of Boba Fett. Simple, no BS. The way he looks, the way he moves, the way he kind of like freezes like a statue when he holds his gun, goes back and he holds his gun like that, like just like classic Boba Fett. I don't know. It was really good. It was really well done. It was really simple. It was a good interaction. And honestly, the game is filled with them, even with like not famous Star Wars characters. The character I wanted to highlight, the side character, and there are a lot of them, but the most special one for me, and it's the one I talked about that was a dumb reference that made me laugh my ass off, is Scuba Stev. I'm already laughing. I think that whoever came up with that name is incredible. I think that is definitely someone as dumb and silly as me. I assume it's a reference to Scuba Steve from the Adam Sandler film Big Daddy, which is one of the last great Adam Sandler films, if you ask me, because there was a time when he was excellent. I'm talking Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, up to Big Daddy, maybe even Mr. Deeds if you want to argue. But to have a character in Star Wars lore referencing that made me like Seth Rogen, like out loud when I saw this on screen. And playing the game before it was out to the public, I was just sitting on that like a time bomb. I didn't want to talk about anything else, spoilers. I was literally just like, I want to tell the world about Scuba Stev in the Star Wars universe. Scuba Steve, damn you! Enough of that. One thing I do want to point out is great to see High Republic stuff. Just from a story aspect to the buildings, the technology kind of represented seemed pretty good to me. Dagan Gera as a villain is okay. I like that he wasn't actually ultimately the main villain. You kill him off, like 3/4 through the game, something like that. He is extreme. He comes off to me very much like Star Wars comic book character, like a villain from the comics where they can go a little crazier. He's a little corny. He hams it up, but it works. I really just like his origin, his existence. Like the fact that he is from that time is more interesting to me than whatever his plot was or like how he acted. But what I really liked is Seer and Eno Cordova working for the Path, which actually was kind of set up in Obi-Wan if you looked at the names written on the wall at that one point. I really liked that Eno Cordova was around. I thought he was a really cool character from the first one. I wanted more of him, and ta-da, there he is right in your face. But I like them working deep in Jeddah with what's left of the Jedi archives, trying to restore information, help the remaining Jedis. Very cool stuff. Seer also at peace with everything, seemingly, and all like monked out. Very cool. And of course, the big showdown. First of all, just playing as her and being OP and being able to slaughter like hordes of stormtroopers was really satisfying. It kind of reminded me of Resident Evil Village when they're just like, okay, now you can play as Chris Redfield and go like 0 Dark 30 tactical on everybody. Like playing as Seer was like the power fantasy moment, and it was a lot of fun. Her lightsaber is cool. Her moves were pretty cool. It was simple, of course. She wasn't like a fully fleshed out character, but that moment worked great. And to cap it off with another showdown with Darth Vader was very cool because like I could tell at that point, I'm like, oh shit, this isn't even the end of the game. Or is it? I don't know. Wow. For them to just throw in another Darth Vader, it didn't feel forced. It didn't really feel like a, hey, remember when? Like, or like, look, we're bringing a Star Wars character. It was just kind of a good capping off point from the first game, their prior showdown. Deborah Wilson as Seer, I really love. I think Deborah Wilson kicks ass in a lot of games and a lot of things she appears in, but I really like her as Seer, and I really, really like this showdown because at this point in this one, like the last time they did it great with like the fear factor of Darth Vader and him showing up behind Trilla and just like Cal reluctantly facing off against him. That was all great. But here it's just Darth Vader showing up for work. He's like, I'm here. I've hunted you. This is what I do. Let's go. And it was great. The fight was good. I liked that it was actually challenging. It feels nice to actually like get bodied by Darth Vader. It took me a while. I like that. That is how it should be. I know I'm like a fanboy, but like, yes. But the fact that like it goes down and it's pretty intense and Seer is a match for him. That's pretty cool. Only a select few people can kick Darth Vader's ass, not just Star Killer, which like that, I guess that doesn't really count anymore. But in the more recent comics, there was someone who did kick Darth Vader's ass when he was still getting used to his armor and stuff. But this was a really good showdown. I really, really like the imagery of Darth Vader kind of burning with the remains of the Jedi archive burning and crumbling down around him. Just cool. Also kind of like Terminator-like, but just good. And then, of course, Seer being bested by like an incredible, like just that whole scene was just framed really well, shot really well, cinematically wise, but her jumping up and flying down with that sick ass move and then him getting her is kind of like him learning from the high ground attack, maybe. Am I reading into that too much? Maybe. But hey, great moment. And the way it transitioned to Cal holding her body was perfect. The fact that like her last words was just Trilla, that's pretty interesting. I actually don't know like what to read into with that other than that, like, I mean, Trilla's last words were like, avenge us, basically. And for her last thought to be Trilla, I don't know. I thought she was like with peace with that whole thing. Still, damn. It was a good, impactful moment for Seer to die. I still wish we got more of her in this game before she died, but playing the first game and then playing this one back to back, like that feeling is there. You got to know her more in that game, so it worked. But it was a good thing with Cal. It showed like his struggle with the Force and his emotions and everything, and how that can be, and how it can relate to obviously attachment and connections, and in this case, family. Cal's adopted family, and then on the other end of thing, Bode Akuna's real family, his daughter. Like, this is where it gets interesting because Bode is okay as a character. I thought he was like, oh, cool idea. Like I said, to like, what if Han Solo also had like a Boba Fett jetpack? Cool, whatever. I pretty early on, like right at the start, could tell, I'm like, oh, this guy, there's something up with this guy. He's gonna like betray them or something. You introduce a friend character out of nowhere that hadn't been really set up previously, and he just kind of has like a sly thing about him, just doing jobs for the rebellion, but not really care. Like, I was like, that's pretty obvious. Like, he's going to screw them over at some point. It happens. Classic movie shit, classic Star Wars shit. And he did. He sold them out to the Empire. Big surprise. I was like, aha, game, I'm smarter than you. But then when it turned out he was also an ex-Jedi, that was a good twist. Like, it was like, it distracted you with the easy twist. And I really liked that. I thought it was good, and I really thought it was a good way of showing like the other side of like how Cal could have ended up. I like the way it was all set up, but also I like how after the game you can find more of his echoes that give you a little bit more insight into him, but also just I like that throughout the game he was kind of like poking Cal about Merrin, being like, hey dude, what's up with her? What's up with her? Like, that's cool. Like, once he's revealed his whole thing, like you kind of get it a little bit more, and I like that it added that flavor. That's good. That's like thoughtful, thought out storytelling. I think it ran into the classic Star Wars problem when more and more stuff is introduced where it's like another character who is like obscenely powerful. Like Bode was like force choking people left and right, and he was really brutal, but like he didn't like look evil and powerful. He was just kind of like NPC looking guy with over the top borderline like crazy force powers and strength. So it was like, okay, whatever. But I think the fact that last fight, that last showdown was filled with emotion and having Merrin there and everything, it all really worked. Oh, and Merrin, the fact that they kissed, that was good. It's nice to just vote for like root for a good old fashioned movie video game romance. By the end of the last game, you wanted to see it, and this time around, you got it. And I think it's also kind of like an atypical relationship because of how Merrin is. She is of a different alien race. She's definitely got her own vibe, her own attitudes that are very different from Cal's, but somehow they come together, and you like to see that. I actually think Cal's dark side thing, like, I wish it was explored more throughout this game, not just towards the end, because if this is a trilogy and there's like a third game, I'd like to see him fully figured out, but I guess maybe the third game, maybe they continue going with this whole dark side thing. I don't think that should be like a throwaway thing just for like a cool ultimate ability. Like, I'd like to see it explored more, possibly. Like, maybe that's not the end of this, because this ends very Empire Strikes Back kind of. There's a lot of people who are dead, and Cal is kind of like almost like disassociating, like he's like detached, standing there around these Jedi funeral pyres, and it's like, oh shit, what does this mean, So there's that. There's like the little boy things, like we're gonna see where they're gonna go, but also a family standing together. To me, again, not to like bring it back to Empire Strikes Back, but like your hands cut off, the bad guy got away, your best friend is frozen, shit sucks, but we're all standing here looking at the beauty of space. And now it's like Grease, it's Merrin and Cal, and like seemingly their new like almost daughter friend in Bode's daughter. I am very excited to see where things can go. Things can go in a really cool way. And again, it goes back to like me actually having some faith in Respawn. I think they're doing a good job like coming up with Star Wars stuff that doesn't feel too forced, doesn't feel like weird. It doesn't feel like they're just trying to like come up with shit for the sake of it. It feels thoughtful. It feels mostly within Star Wars, and I like to see it. This felt very much to me where the first game felt like kind of like a cool extension, weird thing of Star Wars. Like you had Darth Vader, you had the Inquisitors, you had Saw Gerrera, you had all this stuff popping up, all these iconic moments and big set pieces, where Jedi Survivor goes out and does its own thing. And to me, again, like it feels more of like a book or like a Star Wars comic where things can get a little wild, a little weird. But again, I think Respawn seems to like kind of know where they can walk that line. And I'm glad more people are experiencing it. Hopefully you've jumped into it by now, especially now that like the kinks have been worked out. It was such a downer for like the game to have such technical problems. They're not all solved, but I'm glad that that is an evolving thing because it put a damper on something that otherwise I thought was a pretty cool game. Again, I still don't know if I love it as much as like the first one, just like the impact, like, wow, shit, they did it. This game does throw a lot at you, but like story-wise, I really like where it went, and I'm excited to see where it goes, man. There's more to talk about. I could probably talk here all day, but I've already talked your ear off for a while, so thank you for sticking around and listening to me yap. You know I always appreciate it. Like, I'm not even just being like a corny, weird, fake YouTuber. Thank you. Seriously, clicking the like button does help me. Thank you. But I want to hear what you guys think about this game. Where do you think a third game can go? That's what I want to talk about the most. Like, Cal has to end up somewhere or die, right? I don't know. What's going to happen? Let's talk. Let me know your thoughts on this game, the spoilers, everything, but also where you'd like to see it go. Hit me up. I'll be down there as much as possible. You guys know you can also find me on Instagram. You can find me on the Friends Per Second podcast every other week, so check that out. That'll be linked. But that's it. Thank you for being here. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me. And may the Force be with you. Can I say that?